and dogs in the background. But I guess I'm in New South Wales and have uncertainty about how long we'll be in lockdown for. So just wanting some ideas on how you can be helpful remotely to individuals. I kind of get how I would do it in person, but if I'm helping someone in our community and I can't actually, what would that look like?
That's actually a really good question, and that's what we faced the whole time we were mentoring our people. We were out a few times, and during those times that we were out, we were able to visit and we were able to meet. We were able to fundraise, and I went along with one of them to a job interview. But when we were in lockdown, the things that we did were meet online and, researched things for them. We spent a lot of time on WhatsApp. We found that having WhatsApp groups with our mentor group and with the family was really useful. Yeah. It's not ideal, but you can still do a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Kylie, sorry.
Oh, Rebecca, I was just wondering, I'm just sort of coming on as an individual. I'm not part of an existing community group, although there are some prospects of me sort of forming a group. I was just wondering what your experience was. Was your group a ready formed group, or were there individuals who came in from different areas, and how did that dynamic work?
We actually didn't, most of us didn't know one another. A few of us had been friends. We formed quite a big group of 10. And in some ways, well, because we really didn't know what we were doing, that was okay, because a lot of people were sort of on the side, and being in Melbourne and also in lockdown, and some of us were quite remote from one another. So the people that weren't close in location tended to take a side view and didn't participate as much, but that was okay because we're all learning and just observing. I think it's actually a really good way to meet people who have similar values and similar aspirations. So I've met some really great people through it. Just people that I wouldn't meet because they're not in my kind of line of work. They're not in my suburb. But yeah, I think it can work quite well. And I guess also when you speak to people in the community or have fundraising events, you meet people that way. So everyone that I've met to speak about it has been really positive, and everyone wants to help, just about, that I meet. And they often offer things that they have, like possessions or things that they're getting rid of, beds, food processors. So now I just say, great, can you take a photo? Because then I just, send that on to the family and they can decide whether they want the thing or not. So I think it's actually a good opportunity to meet people. What I have found with the people that we were with is that people with jobs didn't have a lot of time. I've taken a gap year from my job this year, so I was able to do quite a bit. So the people that are sort of more retired or working part-time have more time. So you sort of find your rhythm, I think, and work out who can do what. Probably a group of 5 is a good number, because then they can all be involved. And then it's sort of a matter of both communicating and liaising with a wider group, so that you've got people that can do a little bit and you guide them in what they can do. Yeah. Does that help? Yeah.
It does. Thanks.
No worries.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Oh, sorry, I just saw her hand. Robert?
Yeah, I was just asking a question. I'm in Adelaide, and I was wondering if, did you have much content or connection to your other group who were doing the nomination of the participants to the program, did they involve themselves regularly with you, or you were, once you got going, you were on your own?
Do you mean the selection of who we worked with?
Yes.
No, that was done by CRSA,
Right.
through other organisations.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity, I think, to do it that way, or to find people that you think need help that you already know. Is that right, Nicole?
Yeah, we'll go through that in just a minute in the next part of the presentation. But generally speaking, CRSA with partner organisations will work with them in the matching process. So finding referred households and putting them in touch with groups that would be a good match. There are opportunities for groups to feed into that process to make sure that they feel comfortable with the household that we've put forward. But yeah, if there are people that have connections with organisations that support refugees currently, then absolutely use those networks, speak to them, get them to refer people in. Just like there's opportunities for everyone to be working towards finding those households that might need support. Generally speaking, we ask that you don't have a good or close relationship with the household already that you might be mentoring, as it is the program aims to sort of create new connections and new networks in communities. So yeah, but we can talk about that in just a minute.
My passion is in English language. Did you do much, Rebecca, in the help of people with English?
I'm not experienced in teaching English, but I did find a mother's group for my mentee, so that she could actually go to mother's group with her child and learn English that way. Mm-hmm. So, but I think if that's what you like doing, there is so much opportunity. I think that's what I kept hearing from the father of the family, is that the people in his neighbourhood mainly spoke his language, and he wanted much more English, experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions for Rebecca? Anyone?
Yeah. Rebecca.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
We've just had some information about getting to know case managers and people in the referring organisation. I'm wondering whether people, like, if people experience difficulty with those organisations or with their case managers, whether you ended up getting involved in.
Well, we didn't have that experience of problems with case managers. I guess the only comment that our mentees had was that they kept changing and she couldn't build up a relationship with them. She couldn't call them at odd hours, whereas, I was on WhatsApp with her a lot, so she could call me at any time. And she had 2 young children, so her availability was very choppy during the day. So I think it's an entirely different relationship with a mentor than with a case manager. Yeah. It's a much closer, more like a friend. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if people might need help with that kind of, people express needing help with those relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you definitely can be an advocate for people. So you can, if they want you to, you can call someone like a real estate agent or, a possible employer and talk about them, especially if they're feeling unconfident with rules, regulations, English, etc. So it's, you just work with them and help them in whatever way they want you to. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always referred to them as my friends. So whenever I went and spoke to someone about them, I would say, my friend who's a refugee would like to do A, B, or C, and how can we help them? Yeah.
Albertine, I saw that you had your hand up just a minute ago. Oh, you'll just have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I think most of my questions have been answered already. But I was just wondering, how do you get a group together? I mean, is that sort of by friends, or are you allocating people, that live in the area, or how does that work?
Well, we were helped by CRSA because everyone expressed interest and they looked at who lived close to one another and just said, here's a group of people in your area. Would you like to join together? And I have to say, CRSA has been the most amazing organisation to work with. So thank you, Nicole, Shabnam and Lisa, because your guidance, and you're constantly there to answer any questions and just full of great resources. So wonderful people to work with. Yeah, very helpful.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's lovely. We do what we can to help. So on that point, and thank you for raising it, most of you would have answered a question when you registered for this session to say that you might need some help forming a group, and I asked you to give your postcode. So at the moment I'm collating all of that information, and those of you that ticked yes or not sure, I'll put you in groups of people that are nearby. You'll get an email connecting you all, and then it's up to you to continue that conversation and see who's in your local area and how that might work together. So if it ends up being quite a large group, you might want to think about separating it out or work out what those logistics might look like. So I will be finishing all of that up this week. So look out for an email in next week, probably. Okay. So before we move on to the next topic, is there any other questions for Rebecca around her experience from the pilot program that you'd like to ask? Yeah, Wendy.
Oh yeah, it was just to ask what sort of fundraising you did to raise funds.
Yeah, well, we would have liked to do more, but we were mostly in lockdown. But the one thing that we did do that was both fun and, good at raising money was to do a movie fundraiser through Palace Cinemas. So we've got a Palace Cinema in our local area, and we did one session. Everyone that came, $9 of their ticket went to the cause. So I think we raised nearly 1,000 that way, because people also, when people couldn't come, they often sent a donation. But that's something that I'd definitely be interested in doing on a maybe bi-monthly basis once we get out of lockdown. I think for us, or for me anyway, I don't really like to ask just for money because there's so many people asking for money. But to give people some kind of event, I think they enjoy it. They like being invited. So the other thing that I've done in the past is having bands play in my backyard and inviting people, giving them snacks, and then just asking for a donation that way. So yeah, that's my preference anyway, is to have an event that's fun for everyone. Yeah.
These are all very good questions. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing your time. I am very aware that it's 10 to 11 and you do need to go fairly soon. So if there are any other questions, we'll get them answered now before Rebecca has to leave. Is there anyone else? I'm just flicking through.
Karen Gillespie's got her hand up, yep. And I think Deborah Russell might have been waving too. No, okay. Not Deborah. Maybe right. Maybe we go to Karen and then we'll move on to the next part of this.
Okay.
You're on mute, Karen.
I'm part of the social justice advocates group of the Sapphire Coast, and which is down on the far coast of New South Wales. And our group have been having monthly dinners that are being called 50 for 50. So $50 and for a 3-course meal, and it's around, and 50 people are able to come for the event. So we've had a Vietnamese night, and the food was Vietnamese, an Indian night, a Jerusalem night, and so that raises actually quite a lot of money. So that's another event type way of raising
I love
money.
that idea, and also you know, food is so central to the relationship that we have with other cultures. That's
right,
as well.
and so it was an awareness raising opportunity as well as fundraising.
Yeah,
That's
great way
awesome.
to introduce people to the program too.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone pointed out, Michael, you had a quick question as well. Sorry, I don't know if we missed you.
Try that.
Oh, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's better. Rebecca, my question did revolve around costing. As I'm in the same group as Karen and a few others that are on our screen today, we've been working towards a sponsorship, actually, which of course is fairly heavily, it costs a lot. Mentorship is something quicker and more easily brought about. And we're very keen to look at that, particularly given the circumstances of the last week. Did you have any other costs that you weren't aware you might face when you started this with your group?
No, and we didn't actually know what we'd spend the money on. We sort of agreed to raise money, but it was sort of a fluid situation. What were we going to spend it on? What were the needs of the people? So that's quite different. Like if you're bringing someone in from overseas, the needs are clearly going to be mainly housing, food.
Yep.
And we also, of course, want to move to sponsorship, which is much more expensive. What we would need to do, and we haven't done it yet, is to become get tax deductible status so that we can link in with people that do want to give substantial amounts. So some of the people in our group have already said that they can, you know, they've got some contacts that want to donate larger amounts, but it has to be tax deductible. So basically, in the short answer is no, we didn't have any expenses that were unforeseen. The money that we did have, we spent on things like getting driver's licenses, getting laptops for people, but mostly they were donated, but we spent a tiny bit on that. Driving lessons was another expense, and physio expense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. Ta.
Great. We might just leave it there given the time. We'll move on